Okay, and we're back. So we're on page 591, and we are still line plotting. And for this question, it says to use an inch ruler, so make sure you have your rulers out. And you're going to take out 4 different crayons, and you're going to measure the lengths of 4 crayons. If you do not have 4 crayons at home, I measured 4 in my house. So they measured out to be 2 inches, 3 inches, 1 inch, 3 inches. So you can use my data if you do not have crayons at home. All right, the next thing it said to do is to complete the line plot. So the first step, we need to label what the title of our graph is going to be. So this is lengths of crayons. Okay. And we always look up at our line plot. We're going to pick the smallest number to start our line plot off with. So the smallest number out of 2, 3, 1, and 3 is the 1. So I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now I'm going to start with my line plot. So each crayon is represented by an X. So the first crayon is 2 inches, so I'm going to put an X over the 2. Cross that one off because we did that one. The next crayon, the second crayon, measured 3 inches long, so I'm going to put an X over the 3. The next crayon is a third crayon, and it was a 1 inch long, so there goes 1 X over the 1. And finally, the fourth crayon was 3 inches, so another X goes over the 3. Now notice this one, we had no X's over the 4, and that was okay because none of the crayons measured out to be 4 inches. All right, so if you measured your own crayons and had different distances, that's okay. You put yours down. If you did not have yours, just hit the pause button and you can finish copying from right there. All right, go ahead and flip your page. We are now on page 592. We have another line plot. This time they give us the measurements of lengths of ribbon. So they already gave them to us, so you actually don't need to measure anything for this one. So for our title, we're going to write lengths of ribbons. This is a math on the spot problem, so if you want additional assistance, feel free to put your phone or your iPad right up to that QR, and you are able to pull up a video to help you understand this. All right, so we're going to look up at our data. We have 6, 5, 7, and 6, so we're going to think about what the smallest number is out of those numbers up there, and it is the 5, so I'm going to start with 5 and then go 6, 7. All right, so let's look at the first data piece. It's 6 inches, so we put an X over the 6, and I'm going to put a little line through there so I know I used that one. The next one is 5 inches. I'm going to put an X over the 5, cross that off so I know I used it. The next one was 7 inches long, put an X over the 7, cross off the 7. And then finally the next one is 6 inches long, put an X over the 6. So I have 1 over the 5, 2 over the 6, 1 over the 7. All right, the next one. Sarah made a line plot to show the data about lengths of leaves. Is Sarah's line plot correct? And we have to tell why or why not. So what we have to do, we are going to look at what the data is, and we're going to make sure that it matches what that graph is. So let's kind of cross them off as we check them off. So 4 inches, I'm going to circle 1 over the 4 inches, and then we took care of that one. That one's good so far. 5 inches, I'm going to circle a 5-incher. 3 inches, I'm going to circle the 3 inches. 4 inches, we have another 4-inch. So far we're so good. She did great with her line plot. All right, now we have a 6 inches. I'm going to cross or circle the 6-inch. Okay, we have another 4-inch. Uh-oh, did she put 3 X's over the 4? Because we have 1, 2, 3 4s, and there's only 2 on hers. So her line plot is incorrect. So we're going to put no, it's not correct. She needs 1 more X over the 4. So she needs 1 more X over the 4. she also needs one less over the 5. So she still needs one more for the 5, but she accidentally put that extra x over the 5 when that should have been over the 4. So if you're not done copying this page, hit the pause button and go ahead and finish up. The rest of us are going to move on to the next page, which is the homework page. So we are now on page 593 and 594. This is actually the last lesson in our book. The lesson tomorrow will be the math review, and then normally we would take the test. All right, display measurement data. So use an inch ruler, measure and record the lengths of 4 different books in inches. Again, we're on page 593. Write a title for the line plot, then write the numbers and draw the X's. So this again is the lengths in books. If you have 4 books at home, go ahead and measure them now. And you can write in your measurements up in the chart. I went ahead and measured 4 additional books. So I measured in at 7, 8, 9, and 9. If you want to use my data, feel free to use my data. If you measured with your own measurements, go ahead and plug in the measurements of your 4 books. All right. So I'm going to look at my data. My smallest number out of 7, 8, 9, and 9 is the 7. So I'm going to write 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 1 7, I have 1 8, and I have 2 9s, and I have no 10s. Another good thing to do when you line plot is to count the amount of X's and make sure it matches your data number. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 X's, and 1, 2, 3, 4 measurements. So that matches up, so I know that that is correct. All right, the next one, Jesse measured the lengths of some strings. Use his list to complete the line plot. So here is his data. We don't have to measure anything on this one. We're going to look at his data. What is the smallest number on his data chart? We have 5, 7, 6, 8, and 5. So what number should we start with? Good. We're going to start with the 5 because that's the smallest number. So we're going to do 5, 6, 7, 8. And do you know what I forgot to do? The first thing you're supposed to do with these line plots is write that title down. So these are going to be the lengths of strings. All right, now we are going to plug in this data. So the first one is 5. I'm going to put an X over the 5, and I'm just going to put a little notch by there so I know I did the 5. All right, the next one is 7, so I'm going to put an X over the 7, and I'm going to put a little notch by the 7. The next one is a 6. I'm going to put an X over the 6 and a little notch by the 6. The next one is an 8, so I'm going to put a little notch by the 8 and an X over the 8. So far I have 1 over the 5, 1 over the 6, 1 over the 7, 1 over the 8, and then finally the last measurement is a 5, so we're going to put an additional X over the 5. So we have 2 5s, 1 6, 1 7, 1 8. I'm going to double check and make sure I use them all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 X's and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 data measurements. So I know I'm correct. Describe how you made a line plot for this lesson. So you don't have to write this part in. We're just going to talk about it. So to do a line plot, what you need, you have to get measurements. So in most cases, we got 4 or 5 measurements. Once you get those measurements, you put a title on the line plot, and then you have to put numbers of the lengths on the bottom. So for example, if your measurement of your crayon was 5, 6, 7, 8, you would start with the 5 and then write 6, 7, 8. And then every time you had something that measured that length, you put an X on top. So that's how we made all of our line plots. You do not have to write that in. They only gave you a small little line for that. All right, flip your page to page 594. Use the line plot. How many sticks are 4 inches long? So look at our line plot, lengths of sticks in inches. Let's go to the 4. How many X's are above the 4? That'll tell us how many sticks measured out to be 4 inches. Good. There were 3 sticks that measured out to 4 inches. Kim wants to measure a ball. Circle the best tool for Kim to use. Would she use a counter, a pencil, a paper clip, or a measuring tape? Good. She would use that measuring tape because for a ball you have to measure around, so you need something that bends. Estimate how many 12-inch rulers will be about the same length as a teacher's desk. So picture my desk. I don't have a desk, right? So picture my table up front. About how many rulers across do you think that would be? I'm visualizing in my head, and I think it's probably about 4. So I'm going to put about 4 rulers or 4 feet. All right, next one. Kurt has a string that is 12 inches long and another string that is 5 inches long. How many inches of string does he have altogether? All right, so 12 inches and 5 inches. So we have a 12-inch string plus a 5-inch string. And we see that keyword altogether, which means to add. So 12 plus 5 equals 17 inches. And then finally, one box has 147 books, another box has 216 books. How many books are there altogether? So we're going to add up 471. I'm sorry, I wrote that wrong. 147 and 216. And it's 7 plus 6 equals 13. Carry your 1. 1 plus 4 plus 1 equals 6. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So 363 books. All right, I am going to run out of time because I think I'm already past my limit. So, complete this math lesson. If you need to pause on anything, hit the pause button and finish it up. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.